Hello, everyone. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday morning if you're joining us live. And welcome to Lunar Reflections. This is our astrology show where...
Grand Rising.
Yes, Grand Rising as well. This is our astrology show where we are going to discuss the Sagittarius full moon, sharing real life stories from our lives, from clients' lives, from friends' lives, helping us all to connect with that moon on a deeper level and helping us to work with those cycles, work with the energies. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Jake. I am a hypnotherapist, intuitive guide, helping you to connect deeper with yourself, healing past life stuff, building your dream future, your dream life, connecting with your higher self, all that stuff.
And my name is Corbin. I am a natal astrologer. I love working with clients to unpack the energies inside of their birth chart, or to use the current transits to talk about what chapter of life you're going through. I love astrology as a tool for self-reflection and kind of understanding yourself on a deeper level. And like Jake said, yeah, today is the Sagittarius full moon. We have that happening overnight tonight. So the portal is just now opening. Over the last few nights, the moon has been very bright here. As I've been outside a little bit late in the evening, just seeing it glowing very big in the evening. So make sure you grab your charts. We'll be talking about Sagittarius. The moon, like I said, is at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. So we'll really be digging into a lot today about the stories that we tell ourselves and the narratives that are ruling our lives, the philosophies that we might have, and how we can possibly get back on track and restart our ignitions as we're moving forward in our new beginnings here in 2026.
Wow.
Yeah, grab a warm beverage. I have my tea with me this morning, and grab your chart. Make sure that you find out what house you have Sagittarius in. Let us know down in the chat or in the comments where the full moon is happening for you, or what you've already been noticing going on in your life.
And welcome to Soul Tribe in the chat, everyone joining. Hello, Beth. Hello, Lynn. Hello to Jody. Hello to Ken. Good to see you. And happy Saggy full moon, especially to you Sagittarians, whether rising, moon, or sun. I see we have Lynn, of course.
I had no idea it was so close for Lynn. Wow. The full moon 2 degrees off of your ascendant. Yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah. Lynn, you'll have to be chiming in with some of your stories here, because I'm sure you're getting it in a big way.
Oh, I have to imagine. I mean, I'm not a Sag, but I've got air. I've got a lot of air, and that's being activated, and I'm feeling it. So I can imagine that you are, Lynn. So let us know what's going on if you are happy to share.
Well, because it is Sagittarius, Jake, it's Jupiter, and since you're the Pisces, there you go.
Yes.
Anyone with kind of big Jupiter placements is really feeling this one a lot too, but we'll dig into that throughout the hour here.
Yeah, let's get into it. Before we do, though, we've got a couple announcements to share. Number one, let me pull this up.
Yeah, and while it is Gemini season, so we are celebrating that some of our Organites are back. Make sure you head over to the Pisces Portals shop over on Jake's website, because we do have some new Organite creations up for sale for y'all. So to celebrate... There you go. To celebrate Gemini season, we do have our Gemini astrology pyramids up that have a beautiful intuitive blend of crystals to help all Gemini aspects. Maybe the ingress of Uranus over the last month has really been lighting up a part of your chart, and you just want to anchor that in a little bit more. We're also restocked on some of our 3-card pull pyramids, and got a couple pogs left over too from our IRL events.
You can see the Gemini pyramid there, looking stunning, really fun. Couple of the 3-card pulls. So there are different card pulls for each. So listen to your intuition, go with your intuition. Some of those pogs, as Corbin said. We do still have, I think, a few fire horse, don't we?
Just one.
Just one. Oh my gosh. If you're feeling the fire horse today, fiery moon, grab a fire horse pog. Yeah. All right, let me pull that
Oh,
down.
and it truly is a fiery moon, always an opportunity for a little bit of flair and drama, a little excitement whenever the moon is in a fire sign. So if things are a little bit spicy, that's right on time.
And of course, astrology means we should mention your readings.
Yeah, and while you're over on the site, just a reminder that I do offer natal astrology readings. We do it for 1 hour on Zoom. 111 is the price for that. We can dig into any aspect of your natal chart, or perhaps there is, do like broad reading, or perhaps there's a particular topic of an event that's going on in your life that you want to get some deeper meaning and understanding about from an astrological lens. Love doing that too. So yeah, bookings are available on Jake's site as well.
Yes, and I'll pop that in the chat as well, so you guys know where to book with Corbin.
And so, yeah, let's see. Well, I'm a Capricorn rising. Sagittarius is, hitting my chart in an interesting kind of way. Jake, you had mentioned that you are a Libra rising, and so you have Sagittarius in your 9th house, or excuse me, Gemini in your 9th house. Let's jump into this.
Yeah. You want to start in with this year? Yeah.
Yeah. So as always, y'all know that I'm really fond of the Sabian symbols. These are, channeled messages about each degree point of the entire zodiac. So there's, the 360 degrees, and for each degree point, there's a little intuitive message. And I always like to read that to just get some inspiration about what's going on. I didn't really intend on sharing it as part of our conversation today. However, the closer we got to this full moon and as the portal started opening up, I noticed the themes of this like growing and crescendoing, and especially around a conflict that was happening here in the home. And so I decided we're going to throw this one in. And so the Sabian symbol for the full moon today would be, it's called the golden-haired goddess of opportunity. And there's a fun little image that went with it, but you could just think about, a beautiful goddess, and, it's standing on the precipice of opportunity. And some of the deeper meanings that were associated with this, really broke down to the idea and the concept of creating your own rubric for success and having your own measure for what is right. And I love that right off the cuff because it's very Sagittarian in theme, as Sagittarius relates to the personal philosophy that we have, or, the larger view that we have of the world. And one of the things that we talked about most recently was, especially in the last episode when we talked about the relationship with Ceres, was how we were nurtured and mothered, and how we kind of grew up, and how that influenced who we are today and how we show up. And there's so much inside of this that got me thinking about that, because culture and society really put a rubric, put a grading schema on us. They kind of, in many ways, set for the average person what it means to be successful, what it means to be happy. We're kind of told this by popular culture all the time, or news media, or things like that. However, many of us know that isn't exactly like what makes us happy. I mean, that's what has brought so many of us to a spiritual journey, is looking for more meaning than the money in our bank account or something like that. And so I just really, at the end of the day, was appreciating this one in the idea, because right now it's really, to me, it's a huge full moon for rewriting the narrative of your life. It's a huge full moon for telling new stories to yourself that help support you moving into the future that you want to be. We've been inside of this new beginning for a period of time, and if you aren't seeing it inside of your own life, at least see that Jake and I have been living in this new home for 6 weeks here. Maybe you didn't have the job transition, but I'm hearing that from a lot of people. Maybe you don't have a new hobby, but I am hearing that from a lot of people. Maybe you don't have all these new activated skills, but I am hearing that from a lot of people. And as we're soaking into our new environments, the old things just don't work here anymore. And so it is about a new set of words, a new set of beliefs, and a new structure that kind of supports you in moving forward. And it is your golden haired goddess of opportunity right now, really is that moment where you can kind of step into the unbelievable, and rewrite what it is that you do believe and how you're going to get there. So um, just a personal rant at the beginning about how potent I feel like this moon is, for, again, rewriting the narrative of your life, rewriting the narrative that you're telling yourself. Those words really do, create that bigger belief that kind of determines how you move throughout this world. And it's been tough since that Scorpio full moon about a month ago. And there's a huge message here on turning the corner and getting back on track. And we're gonna dig into all the beautiful, really supportive astrology inside of this chart. It's one of my favorite full moons of the year, I think. So let's get ready for it.
Okay. Yeah, it was kind of funny as we were talking about the moon, especially last night, but even earlier in the week. But I kept laughing and saying, "Is this a personal reading for me?" Because I'm feeling this all so very strongly, and this idea of like building your own rubric of success, defining your own, what makes a day worthwhile or valuable to you. I've definitely seen that in my own life over the last week, and that question and that idea has really been like pushed. But I also have had clients who have had similar feelings of like, I heard from one person, they were saying like, I have the good job. I try to take care of my body. I do all of these good things, and yet I'm not happy. I'm not enjoying this. I'm not having a good time. Why am I not? And that kind of like reckoning moment where you're like, this doesn't work for me, right? That is oftentimes that push that gets you thinking about things in a deeper way, exploring your own personal inner world, and like what makes you tick, what does bring you happiness, what does spark that passion. So let us know if you're feeling it, because I'd imagine that some
that
of you
is
are.
really part of the astrology. We're going to unpack that one. We're going to unpack that one too. I love this comment from Beth. What a moment for this current full moon, starting out on a like little adventure here. That is such the theme of Sagittarius. Sagittarius wants you to go out and have these new experiences and be changed by them, be forever changed by them, and really change your view of the world, your perspective, your personal religion, because of what you've experienced. And so I think it's a very potent time for that trip. Yeah, I love that. And it's a great way to kind of kick off summer travel season here in, over in our side of the world. So anyways, hit the like for the golden hair goddess of opportunity. And just remember that now is a moment to be seeing all of the new opportunities that are burgeoning for you inside of this newly reborn reality that we are creating right now.
Speaking of new and how it's maybe coming in.
Yeah, and it's really coming in, y'all. These Uranian shifts, Uranus entered Gemini about a month ago. And this is the first full moon here, where we really are. The idea here is we're really working on integrating some of that energy. The full moon is always by nature, it's an opposition between the sun and the moon. And it's this forced point inside of each zodiacal season where we are asked to go to the other side, bring back and integrate some of the aspects of the other perspective here. And this integration can really help us to deal with some of these Uranian shifts that have been going on. And so we wanted to start with some fun little stories that we've been hearing about Uranus entering Gemini. So, let us know what your rising is, and we can kind of figure out where Uranus is making a splash in your chart right now. This is where my brain was getting a little foggy earlier because I was doing both Uranus or both Gemini and Sagittarius at the same time. However, Jake, you have a story about how, again, Uranus wants to break you out of your kind of stale, stagnant, mundane reality. It kind of wants to throw you and crash you through the firmament and put you on a new timeline where, things are more magical, or our word of the year, whimsical. And there really has been a shakeup in somewhere inside of your life, inside of the last month. We're going to start by sharing some funny stories here, and Jake can kind of share how Uranus in Gemini is shaking up his ninth house. As a Libra rising, Gemini would be the ninth house.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think just like the blanket statement of like my beliefs being shaken up is pretty fair to say. Specifically, as we were starting to think about this moon, we were last week coming into the window, kind of coming into this energy, and one of the experiences that I had was, we've been in this new house for a moment, we've been in this new community for a moment, and it's time for me to go out and make connections and start to, figure out the lay of the land, who's here, what's going on. And I went out to a couple of different crystal shops and metaphysical shops, and my goal was to, meet some people, see what was going on, maybe make a connection or two, maybe, find a lead or something like that, whether that be for group activities and leading meditations, or if it was like finding clients or just like a board to put up my cards. Anyway, I went out and I ended up making it to half of my list because I spent over an hour at each of these places talking with the shop owner and just making a beautiful connection and meeting wonderful people. And I get home and I'm like, I can't believe that I was like scared to do that, because of course I'm going to meet the coolest people running the crystal metaphysical shops in town. Like, of course. And why would they not be the people who would get what I'm doing? And like, it was this like switch in belief of like, yeah, why did I have that kind of negative, like more like worried, fearful based belief? Why didn't I have this belief of like, anything's possible? So it was an interesting
We're all
switch.
working on healing things right now.
Yeah, it's
but I love that too, because
uncomfortable.
Gemini can reflect your local community, and Jake zooming around and having these really activating, engaging interactions with people that are bringing him to life. Like, he came back home, he was completely lit up. That's definitely the sign of like a Uranian experience here. I can think about a friend of ours who I know has the moon at like some early degrees inside of Gemini. And I've heard from her this electric feel inside of her body, this buzziness, this chargedness at times, that I'm like, oh, Uranus is working on those physical upgrades for you, if it's close to your moon or something like that. Ken said, I'm a Taurus rising, and so I think about Gemini would be in the second house if we're using whole sign. It'd be interesting to think about the second house reflects our skills or our abilities. Either there are ways that Ken is learning a new skill or upgrading his abilities, or a lot of times I also think of the second house as the way that we support ourselves through belief in ourselves. And so is learning a new skill causing greater belief in self? That could be something that is going on for Taurus rising right now. They're changing how they're relating to the physical world around them, and that is very activating in sort of a kind of way. For me, myself, I'm a Cap rising, and I have Gemini in my sixth house. And, that's the house of our habits and our daily routines. And I said this before previously, but I'm going outside so much more right now with where we live and connecting with the, kind of nature. And yes, nature is Earth and it's not really Gemini. However, again, this connection, it's really activating for me. Like, it really opens up this channel of inspiration and flow. And again, it's breaking me out of my like boring routine of sitting on my computer and clacking away and not really being happy. Like, I go outside and, there's something happening with the animals that livens me up, that makes me come alive. And it's just really helping me to step towards the new. Recently, we talked about, what garden is dying and what garden is growing.
Mhm.
And this is really helping me to step towards the gardens that are growing. I think a lot of ways these Uranian actions, events, or excitements are pulling us towards what is burgeoning and growing. Now, sometimes Uranus gives us a hard push, there could be like an accident, like a crash, like something like falling apart, that's very Uranian too. A sudden loss of a job or a loved one, or an event that has irreversible consequences. Uranus is, in a modern sense, seen as a higher aspect of Saturn, and definitely relates to like the structure of our reality in a way. And this would be something that changes, an event that changes your reality. And so those are happening too. Not everything is like kind of so fun or exciting. Sometimes there is a difficult thing. What I really want to emphasize right now, though, is where we are with this full moon. The nodes of the moon are square to the full moon. So, right at the beginning degrees of Pisces and the beginning degrees of Virgo are the north and the south node right now, and they are making a square to this full moon. So what does that mean? Well, it means that some of these things were determined before you got here. Your soul decided this as part of like your learning path and your journey. Sometimes we do pick a quick, shocking event that really jolts us onto a new course. It's almost instantaneous change overnight, kind of in a sense. But again, on a soul level, you signed up for this learning and this healing, and it's in your birth chart. Like we can find it there. You can get some confirmation or some reassurance and some perspective from that as well. But just a reminder that the lunar nodes are definitely part of this full moon. And so some of these big Uranian blowouts, if they are more difficult, just a reminder that like that's the fork that you picked to get to that new path. And so it's just about the path that you go on.
Ophiuchus is not a part of what we do, but I'm sure you can find someone out there who does talk about it, because there are definitely people who do.
There's a lot of different astrological perspectives out there.
So many places to go, so many thoughts and beliefs, so many beliefs. So yeah, let us know how you're feeling that Uranian shift. Again, like look at your chart, think about where it's happening and what's been going on in your life. And if you're not like, oh my God, it's this, like, I feel like you don't really often need to dig too deeply to see the astrology come to life. I like to talk about it as like our souls aren't trying to like play tricks with us. They're not trying to like trick us into things. And the astrology, these systems are meant to help us to understand things, not make it harder to understand. And if it's making it harder to understand, maybe take a step back and evaluate, like, who am I listening to? Am I listening to myself? What sort of like information am I taking in? All that stuff.
And I love Lynn's comment here, because
great question.
It's exactly where we're going right now. Because what is coming in, what is really exciting as it relates to both Uranus and Pluto, is this newfound relationship from an aspect that they are in basically for like the next year here. Jake, we haven't pulled up the wheel at all.
We haven't.
No. Pull up the wheel?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
So, Lynn, to your comment, there is, something that is kind of fated or destined because of that signature inside of your birth chart. But because how things have shifted and progressed ever since, there's an indication that right now is a time of unlocking what was fated by having those two very close together at your birth. Because one of the best things that's going on, let me get my senses going on. Okay, so here's Pluto. Pluto's at 5 Aquarius right now, and we have Uranus over here at 2 of Gemini. Pluto's moving backwards, and so actually Uranus and Pluto are moving closer to each other inside of a trine. This trine will be perfecting I think until the middle of July. I did not write down the exact date, but that's okay, because of retrograde motion, Uranus will eventually turn around and go retrograde. The two of these planets will make 3 trines between now and basically a year from now. And so this energy, this supportive energy between Pluto and Uranus, is a new kind of like high note that's chilling in the background, that's accessible. For almost the last year, I've been saying, Cancer, Jupiter's in Cancer. This is like the good stuff sitting behind all of it to help you. Well, we kind of have a new energy that's sitting behind the chart for a long time here, and that's supporting all of us. And that would be this trine between Pluto and Uranus. And so when we're just thinking about this kind of massive portal for advancement, I just want to real quickly, because we'll talk about this for the next year, but I wanted to get into just some of the like basic word associations that we could have for these two ideas or these two energies. And so Uranus can be this idea of innovation or this energy of innovation. And Pluto can bring in this element of transformation. So we have innovation and transformation that you are bringing into your life. There's a concept of, liberating or freeing yourself from the past and moving on a path of unprecedented growth, of accelerated growth. There's promises for enlightenment and seeing things from a higher perspective, but not only having that wisdom, but being able to do something about it, being empowered by that and taking that into the world in, bringing that into action. Again, it's beautiful, beautiful energy for breaking up, parsing apart kind of all of our realities and transforming it into something that's kind of more beneficial for everyone. When people talk about the lofty ideas associated with the new age or ushering in a new age of consciousness, this is one of those signatures that really emphasizes or points to some of that really coming into being. Y'all know that I'm fond of the mundane astrology. That's why we do these shows, to talk about kind of our everyday experiences. If you're into like astrology and history or something like that, I might suggest an astrologer, Andre Barbeau. He is a French dude who just really kind of pulls together all the different like wars and like political periods as they relate to like larger cycles with the outer planets. And we're definitely having like a very much an outer planet conversation here. But I've been saving this quote for a while. A few people kind of, always say, well, what is so significant about this moment in time? What is really going on? And this is just the perspective of someone who wrote this, many, many, many years ago. But it's about essentially the trine between these two, and then the sextile that's going on with the 2 planets that entered Aries earlier this year, Saturn and Neptune.
Lynn likes that book.
Yeah, woo woo. It's the most benefic configuration of the century, and its interplanetary partnership will work for the best in a splendid relaunch of civilization. It contains a harmonious relationship between primordial polar opposites. It's the coming together of the external and the internal, the rational and the spiritual, the mind and the soul. Human beings surpassing themselves while experiencing life on a higher level. And again, I think so much of that really starts to come into picture, into manifestation, into being with this trine that's going on between Pluto in Aquarius and with Uranus in Gemini. These are air signs. These are, areas that talk about society, that talk about people, that talk about our minds. This is all of the ingredients for mental, psychological, spiritual shifts and transformations. Jake just had his thing with Jennifer.
Oh, yeah.
And after watching that, I was like, well, sure, to get to that 25 years out from now where people really are working in a different way, it's because we've taken this transit that's starting right now and we've really ridden it for all it is. We've really parsed it out for everything, both personally and collectively. And so, if you're part of that 60s generation that has this conjunction, previously I talked about this being a very awakening moment to step into your powers and your gifts and to get on mission in a much larger way than ever before, and really be leading the charge into kind of this next phase, and really helping to shape that out. So to the Jodies and the Lynns and anyone else who maybe has that, that's one way that I see that coming through. There's a large second generation. We can start talking about the generations of star seeds, but Jake and I come from a generation of star seed where there would have been more than likely a sextile between Pluto and Uranus, but also Uranus and Neptune together. We bring in this other energy of, again, and Neptune, who is in this overall configuration. There's another wave of starseed that does something else. This is an entirely different show. We should talk about that though in more depth.
Yeah, definitely. All of this talk about like the shifts and the changes and the new, like, I just can't help but think about like all the disclosure talk that's happening right now. And I mean, I didn't dig deep enough to verify if this was true or not. So call me out if
bring more power to the people. Just, that's such a short way of thinking about anything here. Yeah.
Sure. Yes. There was, you like cut me off mid-sentence and now I lost my train.
I'm inspired.
Well, I'm inspired too. Steven Spielberg, he's having a movie coming out, Disclosure Day. And those of you who have seen the trailers and stuff have kept up on what's happening. It's interesting, and very interesting timing. Well, I saw something that said he like came out and did an interview saying that it's all true, that like all of the government cover up and like all of the contact and the ships and all of that, it's all true. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's definitely one of those figures, I think, that has been chosen to open people up to that possibility. And I also saw shortly after seeing that, I saw something about like religious leaders being briefed on the coming disclosure, on the realities of life not on this planet, not of this realm, and that they were being instructed to like gently and specifically like guide people to realization, helping things be smooth. And I was just thinking about that, and I was like, with Uranus here, I just can't imagine it's going to be smooth. Like they might try to make it smooth, but I think there's going to be a few bumps. I think there's going to be a few, like how earthquakes happen, where there's that like pressure, and then it breaks, right? It slips. It's like, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. On like a little bit more of like a personal level, or like a little more like, I guess, in my own circle. I was at a group meditation last week, and a couple of the ladies afterwards asked me about sound healing and sound bowls, and if I could explain a little bit about like what that's about and what that does. Because as one of the women said, she said, I sit there and I can feel the sounds in my body. And I was like, yeah, yes, you can. And it was just a really fun moment where I got to explain I'm not a sound healer. I'm not like an expert in sound healing or frequencies, but I know enough, right? I've been around the block. And so I got to explain a little bit about the frequencies and how they're tuned. It was just one of those moments where like new beliefs being formed, new awarenesses being had, like expansion of these, like, how does the world work? How do I work? How does this all go together? Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Lynn saying, confirming that fact. Yeah, you saw it too. And yeah, exactly. Our bodies are made of water, and that vibration, that frequency, it affects it. I love it. Coming in with all the bangers, Lynn. Good comments. Thanks for joining us. We love you. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Interesting time to be alive. And I think those, as with all of these, well, I guess not all of these, but most astrological shifts, like this happens internally, personally, externally, big stage, small stage. Like we oftentimes see these things expressed on the various levels. I think you would say that like Uranus and Pluto, like the outer planets, are more of that collective energy, more often that collective energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when we work with the degrees and the orbs and the tightness for outer planets, yeah, it needs to be
Sure.
a lot more specific. It's not the first thing that I look at. But there was a comment that you had made about understanding different realities, and I think that inside the conversation of aliens, inside the conversation of technology, inside of the conversation of like, how are we coming together as a planet? How are we coming together as a species? How are we coming together across species? How are we coming together as different forms of consciousness, whether that be animal or your home, and I think the more and more we're going to be opening up to a wider range of truth inside of all of this, and largely thanks again to Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini, really helping us to see a different perspective that we have not considered yet, that will create a more beautiful and more perfect like picture in the end, So that'll be really cool. Some things to be reflecting about for yourself here, because it's important to be working with that internal piece. Of course, we can see the disclosure happening on the large scale, but more on an internal level. This is about kind of like your inner tech, your clairs. How are your spidey senses coming online in the last month or so? And what sort of upgrades are you starting to notice or see inside of this new beginning that can be really helping you? There are new tools, new skills coming in that are going to, help you throughout this transition as well. And they might be just now showing up after going through like a lot of kind of deep shadow healing. But it's definitely going on. I'm hearing it.
I'm definitely hearing it too, from clients, from friends, just random people. You have a conversation with someone and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what you're asking about. Oh my gosh, yeah, let's talk about that. It's fun. Fun.
I think for all of us who've been here for at least the last 6 years, we're all saying, oh, there's a new group of people coming in. Oh, there's a new group of folks showing up. This transit really indicates that, right? Really says, hey, there's a next wave of activation coming. For a long time, we've kind of said, all right, guys, folks who are in our group, we're stepping up now, right? We're being called to step up. We've all been feeling that, how we're needing to bring our talents to the world and share them more right now, right? Well, that's great, because we have to help all these people who are now just getting activated for the first time, who are having those kind of harsher realizations that we used to have. I mean, it was kind of tough to hear that client the other day, because I used to feel that way. I used to.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of us can remember back to some of those early moments of the dissatisfaction, the kind of looking around like, wait, but I did it right. I like followed the rubric that society gave me, and I'm here and I feel this way and I hate my life. Why do I hate my life? And I think that moment, that like disillusionment, that like that realization, that like come to Jesus moment, right? You can talk about it in a lot of ways. That moment, I think, is that pivoting point for many, and it takes that dissatisfaction, it takes that unhappiness, it takes some of the tougher bits, right, to push you to explore, to explode, to shift into that new way of being, to transform. And I think it can be hard before we start to see that higher perspective to be navigating that. I mean, it's not fun. Usually it's not the most like smooth ride, but once you realize what your soul is calling you to, and you get through some of that toughness, it really does open up that beautiful new world, right? We're talking about the positive shifts, the ways that this is leading us to a better place. It is, but it's often through that, right, dark night of the soul that we get to that changed place. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Lynn, right? That's I feel like how it always goes is we're going through some level or layer or facet of what our clients go through. That's how they find their way to us, because we're all helping each other heal. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, that midlife crisis, and certainly isn't happening necessarily at like the traditional midlife point these days.
Oh, no.
For some people it does, but I feel like it's earlier and earlier for folks. And some of
that traditional midlife crisis is what's called like the Uranus opposition in your chart. And so traditionally, when Uranus is 180 degrees from where it started when you were born, that is that like shake up, that is that like inner calling to like break out and to move into something that's more exciting and more meaningful and more true for you. And so I would maybe just venture to say that the Uranus ingress into Gemini maybe like kicked that for a large swath of people. And again, with the trine to Pluto, it's a very gentle opening, right? These are supportive nudges from the universe to get your poop in a group and to figure it out, and to if you climbed the wrong mountain, if you climbed the mountain that your parents wanted you to climb and not really the one that is inside of your heart, it's the time to realign for that one. And then that's our next theme. Our next theme here is getting back on track. I think very, very clearly, very bluntly, things have been difficult since that last full moon. It feels like I've just been hearing it from a lot of people in a lot of different ways, where there's still kind of this shadow work that we are unpacking and kind of clearing out, which is good. The first part of the chapter can be, removing that which you don't need to carry with you anymore. But this is the moon to round the corner again. This is the moon to get back on track. And we have our best friend Saturn helping us out with that. So inside of the chart right now, if we look at the full moon, there's really only one planet that is making an aspect to the moon here. And the moon is at 9. That would be Saturn over here at 12 of Aries. The moon will make a degree-based trine to Saturn just a few hours after this moon perfects overnight tonight. And there really is that wind in the sails energy, or I guess like hot air in the hot air balloon energy, if we're going to use our fire thing accurately, that will kind of take you back up. And, I was reminded of our fire horse, and we're unmuzzling the fire horse, because traditionally when Saturn is in Aries, we might have some struggles asserting our energy, believing that we can do the thing that we want to do. Saturn can give you some no's or tell you some reasons that you aren't good enough or aren't qualified enough, or maybe don't have like the prerequisites or the training, or these can give you a lot of reasons to just make up your no as to why not to do it. That energy was really, really strong when Saturn was close to Neptune. However, Saturn and Neptune are now 8 degrees apart, and they continue to separate. And that is moving us away from this breaking down energy, because Saturn and Neptune combined together really had this breaking down energy. But Saturn alone in Aries is this, okay, now how am I going to turn away from the dead, dying, decaying? And how am I going to, in a measured kind of way, start making progress moving forward? And so there really is now this need to do something differently, to go about it in a new kind of way. And just as we were talking about that client, there is a fresh round of kind of that negative side of Aries of, I'm not spending my energy how I want. I'm not moving toward my dreams. And that is coming out as a frustration. That's coming out as an anger. That is kind of the displeased masculine side of ourselves. And now is the time to move past that. if you have words that are coming up that reflect these old beliefs that, play into that, you need to be starting on that sort of a level. You need to be working with new tools to be overcoming this right now. Again, the message of the moon is your soul is seeking new experiences. So if you are doing the same tactics, strategies for your new thing that you had in your old world, you're using your old belief systems to build your new world, and you're not going to get what you want in the end. This is a moment about actually really sinking into something new and different. And that's that energy of shaking it up. All of these energies harmoniously kind of work together. And it is just time. You just have to start doing it. And the time to do it is now. Like I just, the strong Saturn in me can't be more blunt about this and more serious about how you should wake up and it should look different. That is doing it right now. You're doing the old thing, you're doing it wrong. It's just, I can't say it more simply any other way. Now there's a potent opportunity right now. Again, put your crystals out, put your moon water out, make a little talisman. This is rounding the corner energy. This is picking a new path energy. You're going to need to hold your hand to pick the new path, though. It's not always going to be the easy or the hard thing, but there's so much astrology right now that's going on with Saturn. Saturn and Venus are, in a square to each other. And there's really been this question that's been asked of us this week of how are you managing that hard and soft? How are you cracking your own whip, but also being your own cheerleader and kissing your boo-boo? Because if there's anything that the last moon taught us, it's that it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to take care of yourself. It's your responsibility to manage the thoughts that go on in your mind. It's your responsibility to manage the words that come out of your mouth, because that creates the reality around you. Are you being too hard on yourself in an aspect of your life where you need to be more understanding that you are going through something new or that you're learning something new, and rather need to be more supportive of yourself at that time? Are you holding your hand when you're needing to jump into the deep end or do that difficult thing or try something for the first time? There's really a question inside of this moon on how am I being both like my divine father and my divine mother? How am I steady one hand on the back, but also like holding the hand at the same time? And there's really a moment of stepping into kind of like a healed perspective with that. Again, there's so much of this that is letting go of that old pattern to follow the new path. I'm just ranting on this one.
No, I mean, Beth and Ken and everyone's agreeing for sure. Be your own best friend. I think that I was talking this week, and I talk often about the different parts of us, right? We have our consciousness, our ego, this part of us that is usually more forward when we're interacting with others around us. We have that deeper subconscious or like unconscious part of us, our higher self. You can get more multidimensional with it and think about your guides or your soul family, your soul, your oversoul. You can definitely think about these different parts of yourself in a lot of different ways. But I was talking with this client this week about that idea of, these different parts of you and how you can lean into those archetypes or lean into those characterizations to help yourself to get through things. Is it your inner child, needs a moment to play and to laugh, to find joy, to like dig into the simple pleasures? Or is it that your father, that father inside of you, your own, personification of that father figure, needs to hold you accountable and say, hey, there's consequences when you don't do that thing, and you want to do that thing. And it's not about punishing, it's not about shame. And I think that's been what I've been reworking, and some of the beliefs that I've been shifting is like, it doesn't have to be about shaming yourself for not doing, or about, ragging on yourself for being at a point instead of a different point, or, being where you're at. And it's about that balance between holding yourself to the things you want, holding yourself to build the life and the dreams that you want, but then also being compassionate and loving to yourself when you need to find that balance, when you need to support and cheer yourself on and encourage yourself, because certainly the people around us, our community, our support systems, our higher selves, our guides, like these parts and pieces want to support us too, but there's something different about doing it for yourself. And I think that's a big part of what all of us arguably are learning as humans, is how do we exist as individuals, right? It's part of that like individualization.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of this Cancerian energy right now is, really helping us to purify the inner waters, because the waters have to be pure if you're going to be in relation with others and like not blow up. You have to have a really solid base, an open heart, to not be offended by other people's beliefs that aren't the same as yours, to bridge, to really see beyond differences. It really needs to come from a full inside. And so it's about cultivating that first. And back to the things that culture and society tells us to do and tells us, what success looks like. We might be extra hard on ourselves if we aren't having that success that the Instagram algorithm is telling us of what it is, what it means to be successful, or what it means to be happy. And this is really about redialing into your own internal north node and helping you to kind of get there without choking yourself at the same time,
Right.
And there's a lot of that divine masculine that's being healed right now. One of the other things that's going on in the chart there, Mercury is at the end of Gemini, and Chiron, this will be, our last moon with Chiron and Aries here, our last full moon before Chiron transitions into Taurus. And we have been healing aspects of the divine feminine for 7-8 years now. I was reflecting on this last night. I really was thinking about COVID. What were you doing during the lockdowns, and how was that? How did that make your Mars feel? Did you do what you wanted to do? Were you exerting your energy in the ways that you wanted to? Was it a learning lesson about how are you mastering your own agency or authority? That all falls inside of this cycle. And here we are, now, and there's a lot of like, well, how am I moving into this new era, following my passions or following my new beliefs or getting out on mission? And there's been a lot that has been healed in all of our divine masculine selves. And some of it is, coming to recognize that, coming to honor that healing process. One of the big Jupiterian things, Jupiter being the ruler of this moon again, is just like fucking counting your blessings, speaking your gratitudes, making that short list of what fills your heart. Like going back to your Jupiterian basics here can really help to bolster that divine masculine who we're all working on healing right now, especially since the Scorpio full moon. And, it's about having a new strategy for how you're supporting you to kind of tie back into that hard and soft. It's kind of how I see that this bigger topic here. We're starting to run out of time. The cherry on top in all of this would be the two benefics coming together in Cancer. I mean, this is the most beautiful thing that we got in the immediate near future here for quite some time. So if you're still working on getting your waters running pure, if you're still going through a final phase of healing, you're right on time. You haven't missed anything, because your best friend and your higher self is here to help you cross that final threshold of healing. I just am remembering when Venus moved into Cancer like 2 Mondays ago. I was transported back in time, and I've been singing all of these like really old songs recently, whether it be from like 1996 or like back to like 1960. But Cancer is our past. Cancer is our deep past. Cancer is the past of our ancestors too. And so clearing out these old beliefs, these old programs, these, it maybe isn't even yours. It might go far back in your ancestry or your lineage. Reminds me of the conversation with you and Jennifer the other day.
Mm-hmm.
This could go way back to your grandmother's grandmother, and you've all had anxiety because you've all struggled to support yourself because of the relationship with your mother and how you decided to receive or not receive love, and how that related to how you value yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
all of this is kind of coming to a grand moment of healing. So right on time, cry it out, take that internal moment. There's still a little bit of time where we can be working on that internal stuff before we're really called into the game. But again, this is about rounding that corner. Maybe you need to be firm with yourself and initiate yourself into that healing journey right now. Maybe you need to gently push yourself there and hold
Mm-hmm.
your hand as you start to cry about that. It's right on time. It will totally change how you think about it, right? Like if you've had that difficult relationship with whomever, you can have a new beginning for that. You can have a different way of seeing that now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely don't always have the easiest time accepting and like allowing the new. I think some of that is the fixed energy that I have. And this is definitely a moon where I've had a few moments of like, okay, but it hasn't happened yet. And like, can I trust? Can I believe that it can be different? Can I, accept that? Can I believe that? And even if I don't have necessarily every single step figured out, or every single, even if I'm a little overwhelmed by the scope of things, it's like, no, I can't. I can believe that things could be different. And starting there, and that was came up in a conversation with a friend this week. We were talking about that idea of like, okay, you might not be able to make that huge leap in belief of like going from, wherever you are now to some, idealized, perfect position or belief or way that you work, or, routine or whatever it might be. But can you believe that that could be possible? Can you find a way to like tiptoe your way towards that?
Well, and can you start building that belief by recognizing the small things that have grown into that greater new manifestation? We were talking about this with your business, right? And it's like, hey, can I celebrate all of these small wins? Maybe this giant dream that is a few years down the road hasn't manifested, but can I be now? Can I be present with that?
Mm-hmm.
And can I honor that which I've already manifested and use that really to bolster the belief in self, to get back on track, to reignite my own flame and get back into the game and get on mission? And I think, this is a moon about our beliefs. It's a moon about rewriting the perspective. And so if there's something inside of your dream that you say, this isn't possible, we really got to work on unpacking that, because it's all possible right now. You don't have the vision of it unless it should become, reality for you. You wouldn't be given that wisdom from the universe, from your higher self, from cosmos, from God, unless you were meant to see it. And so, then it's your ego getting in your way. And what is this moment of disbelief or disconnection that needs to be overcome? Because the time is now. The time to overcome it is now. The time to rewrite the belief is now. And the time to move forward in a new healed way is now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The goddess of gold, the golden goddess of opportunity, whatever she was.
Goddess of opportunity, indeed.
The new day really is here, in so many ways. And I say this to myself on weeks where I struggle to check all my boxes. All right, cool. I'll get there again on Monday. I'll start that up again on Monday. And this is the energy of I'll start that up again on Monday, like right now, essentially, you know, because I'm going to get back into the race and I'm going to keep moving towards my dreams. We definitely took some time to work on some shadow and go internal, and that's great. Got to clear that out to be what's next. But now it's back into like becoming the future. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly, Jody. Small wins are amazing with this energy. And I know that that's been something that I've been being called to focus on more, is that gratitude piece, on focusing on that. Okay, but like, look at the changes that you have done. Look at the progress you have made. Look at, you know, all of the wonderfulness that you have done, not just focusing on that, you know, that percentage that you didn't get done, or that you're still working through, that you're still working on. And so, yeah, balancing that hard and soft, balancing that accountability and that love. So let us know how you guys are feeling, what's coming up in your life. If you're watching the replay, let us know down in the comments for sure. We love to see your comments. We love to hear what's going on, because each of us does, of course, have our own individual journey that we're on. And it helps us all to reflect on like what's going on, helping us to understand the energies more, understand each other more, understand ourselves more. And that's what all these like systems are about, right? Is helping us to learn, to grow, to expand our consciousness. So hope you enjoyed the show today, and hope you're enjoying this moon and the energies. I feel like it's been a little up down for me, so maybe it has for you too, but finding that silver lining, finding that Jupiterian blessing in it, because it is there. And I think we're turning a corner here that's going to be pretty powerful for those of us that are doing the work.
Well, and it's this moon, because the only aspect is to Saturn. You know, you need Jupiter to have the big grand vision, but you need Saturn to ground it into reality and make it come to fruition. And there's a beautiful balance here between the two. And so again, that's more of the just like it is time to get on that mission with your feet on the ground in a functional kind of way. I feel like that fire horse energy has been a little woo, and like this puts our feet on the ground and helps us to move forward. So
yeah, right. We are all growing. Lynn, oh God, I hope not more baby bunnies. But we did see one out and about exploring last night. So he was munching on some grass and dandelions in the yard, and it was good.
That was a good Uranian moment. Flinging baby bunnies out of our garden.
Truly, though, truly. Thank you all for watching. Sending you all love. And let's see what's coming ahead. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what's happening next week. I've got we'll figure it out. You'll see. We'll see you soon. Sending you guys love. Happy full moon. Bye, y'all.